Book of Heaven, Volume 19, Part 2. March 9th, 1926. Creation forms the mute glory of God. How, in creating man, God played a risky game, but it failed, and He has to make up for it. My poor mind was swimming in the endless sea of the divine volition, and my always lovable Jesus made me see the whole creation in act. What order! What harmony! How many different beauties! Each thing carried the seal of an uncreated love that ran toward creatures. And in descending into the depth of each heart, all things cried out in their mute language, "Love, love He who so much loves you." I felt a sweet enchantment in seeing the whole creation. Its loving muteness, more than powerful voice, wounded my heart to the point that I felt faint. And my sweet Jesus, sustaining me in His arms, told me, "My daughter, all creation says, glory and adoration to our Creator, love to creatures." So creation is a mute glory and adoration for us, because no freedom was conceded to it, either to grow or to decrease. We issued it from ourselves, but we kept it within us, that is, in our will, to sing, though mute, the praises of our power, beauty, magnificence, and glory. So we ourselves sing the praises of our own power, of our glory, of our infinite love, power, goodness, harmony, and beauty. Creation gives us nothing by itself, although, being the outpouring of all our divine being, it serves man as mirror in order to look at and to know his Creator, and it gives to him sublime lessons of order, of harmonies, of sanctity, and of love. One can say that the Creator himself, assuming the attitude of Divine Master, gives as many lessons for as many things as He created, from the greatest to the littlest work that came out of His creative hands. It was not so in creating man. Our love for him was so great as to surpass all the love we had in creation. Therefore we endowed him with reason, memory, and will, and placing our will within his, as though in a bank, we wanted him to multiply it, to increase it 100-fold, not for us, who did not need it, but for his own good, that he might not remain like the other created things, mute and fixed in that point at which we issued them, but he might grow ever more in glory, in riches, in love, and in the likeness of his Creator. And so that he might find all possible and imaginable aids, we gave him our will at his disposal, that he might achieve, with our very power, the good, the growth, and the likeness of his Creator that he wanted to acquire. In creating man, our love wanted to play a risky game by placing our things within the little circle of the human will, as though in a bank. Our beauty, wisdom, sanctity, love, and so forth. and our will was to become the guide and the actor of his operating, not only to make him grow in our likeness, but to give him the shape of a little God. Therefore our sorrow was great in seeing these great goods being rejected by the creature, and for the time being our risky game failed. But even though it failed, it was always a divine game that could and had to make up for its failure. Therefore, after many years, my love wanted to gamble again, and it did so with my immaculate mamma. In her our game did not fail. It obtained its full effect, and therefore we gave her everything, and we entrusted everything to her. Even more, we competed, we in giving, she in receiving. Now, you must know that our love wants to play this risky game with you also, so that you, united with the celestial mamma, may let us win the game by allowing us to make up for the failure that the first man, Adam, caused us. And so that our will, restored in its victories, may place its goods in the field once again, that with so much love it wants to give to creatures. And just as through the Holy Virgin, because I had made up in my game, I made the sun of redemption rise in order to save the lost humanity, in the same way, through you, I shall make the sun of my will rise again, that it may follow its course in the midst of creatures. This is the reason for so many graces of mine that I pour into you, and for the many knowledges about my will. It is nothing else but my risky game that I am forming in you. Therefore be attentive, that you may not cause me the greatest sorrow I could receive in the whole history of the world, the failure of my second game. Oh no, you shall not do this to me. My love shall be victorious, and my will shall find its fulfillment. Jesus disappeared, and I remained concerned about what he had told me, though all abandoned in the supreme volition. Jesus alone knows the torment of my soul about everything I am writing, and my great repugnance in putting these things on paper that I would rather have buried. I felt like fighting against obedience itself. But the fiat of Jesus won, and so I continue to write what I did not want to. Then my sweet Jesus came back, and seeing me concerned, told me, "My daughter, why do you fear? Do you not want me to play with you? You shall put in nothing of your own, but the little flame of your will, that I myself gave you in creating you. So all the risk of my goods shall be my own. Do you not want to be the copy of my mamma? Therefore come with me before the divine throne, and there you shall find the little flame of the will of the Queen of Heaven at the feet of the Supreme Majesty, that she placed into the divine game. In fact, in order to play, one must always put something of one's own. Otherwise, the one who wins has nothing to take, and the one who loses has nothing to leave. And since I won in the game with my mamma, she lost the little flame of her will. But happy loss! By having lost her little flame, leaving it as continuous homage at the feet of her Creator, she formed her life in the great divine fire, growing within the sea of the divine goods, and therefore she could obtain the longed-for Redeemer. Now it is your turn to place the little flame of your little will near that of my inseparable Mamma, so that you too may be formed in the divine fire, and may grow with the reflections of your Creator, in order to find grace before the Supreme Majesty, to be able to obtain the longed-for Fiat. These two little flames shall be seen at the foot of the Supreme Throne for all eternity, having had no life of their own, and one of them obtained redemption, the other the fulfillment of my will, the only purpose of creation, of redemption, and of my return match in the risky game of creating man. In one instant I found myself before that inaccessible light, and my will, in the shape of a little flame, placed itself near that of my celestial Mamma to do what it was doing. But who can say what I could see, comprehend, and do? I lack the words, and so I stop here. And my sweet Jesus added, "My daughter, I have won the little flame of your will, and you have won mine. Had you not lost yours, you could not have won mine. Now we are both happy. We are both victorious. But look at the great difference that exists in my will. It is enough to do an act, a prayer, and I love you once, that taking its place in the supreme volition, that same act, prayer, or I love you, remains always in the act of being done, without ever ceasing. In fact, when an act is done in my will, that act is no longer subject to interruption. After it is done once, it is done forever, as if it were continuously being done. The operating of the soul in my will comes to partake in the ways of the divine operating. When it operates, it does always the same act, with no need of repeating it. What shall your many I love yous in my will be, always repeating their refrain, I love you, I love you? They shall be many wounds for me, and shall prepare me to concede the greatest grace, that my will be known, loved, and fulfilled. Therefore in my will, prayers, works, love, enter into the divine order, and one can say that it is I myself who prays, works, loves. And what could I deny to myself? In what would I not delight? March 14th, 1926. The one who lives in the divine will must be the voice of all created things. In order to fulfill this office, the soul must be newly born in the divine will. The great difference that exists between the one who is newly born in the divine will in time, like the celestial Mamma, and the one who is reborn in the divine will at the thresholds of eternity. I continue to dissolve myself in the holy divine will. I would like to embrace everything and everyone, to be able to bring everything to my God, as my own things, given to me by Him as gifts, in order to give Him, for each created thing, a little word of love, a thank you, and I bless you, and I adore you. And my always lovable Jesus came out from within my interior, and with His omnipotent Fiat, He called the whole creation in order to place it on my lap, to give it to me as a gift. And with tenderness, all of love, He told me, "My daughter, all is yours. For the one who must live in my will, everything that came out of my will, and that my will preserves and possesses, must be fully hers by right." Now it was my omnipotent Fiat that extended the heavens and studded them with stars. My Fiat called the light to life and created the sun, as well as all the other created things. And my Fiat remained inside the creation as triumphant, dominating, and preserving life. Now the one who has won the divine will has won the whole creation, and even God Himself. Therefore, by right of justice, she must possess all that my will possesses. More so, since the creation is mute for its creator. And I made it mute, because the one to whom I was to give it, and who was to live in my will, would herself have speech in all created things, so that all things made by me might be speaking, not mute. So you shall be the voice of the heavens, and echoing from one point to another, it shall make your word heard, that resounding through the whole celestial atmosphere shall say, "I love, I glorify, I adore my Creator." You shall be the voice of each star, of the sun, of the wind, of the thunder, of the sea, of plants, of mountains, of everything, repeating continuously, "I love, I bless, I glorify, I adore, I thank He who created us." Oh, how beautiful shall be the voice of my newborn of my will, of the little daughter of my volition, in all things. It shall render the whole creation speaking, and creation shall be more beautiful than if I had given it the use of the word. I love you so much that I want to hear your voice in the sun, loving, adoring, glorifying. I want to hear it in the celestial spheres, in the murmuring of the sea, in the darting of the fish, in the bird that sings and warbles, in the lamb that bleats, the turtle-dove that moans. I want to hear you everywhere. I would not be content if, in all created things in which my will has first place, I did not hear the voice of my little newborn, who, rendering the whole creation speaking, gives me love for love, glory and adoration for each thing created by me. Therefore, my daughter, be attentive. I have given you much, and much do I want. Your mission is great. It is the life of my will that must be carried out in you, that embraces everything and possesses everything. Then, after this, I was thinking to myself, how can I do all that blessed Jesus tells me? Being present in all created things, having one act for everything that the Supreme Volition does, as if it were to be my echo, and I its echo, if I am just newly born in the divine will. I should at least grow a little bit, to be able to diffuse myself a little more, as best as I can, in all created things, as my beloved Jesus wants. Now, while I was thinking of this, he came out from within my interior and told me, "My daughter, do not be surprised if I tell you that you are the newborn of my will. You must know that my Immaculate Mamma herself is the newborn of my will, because in comparing what the Creator is and what the creature can be and take from God, she can be called a little newborn. And because she was the newborn of my will, she was formed in the likeness of her Creator, and could be queen of all creation. And as queen, she dominated everything, and her echo ran well with the echo of the divine will. And not only the celestial sovereign lady, but all saints, angels, and blessed can be called just newly born in the eternal volition. In fact, as soon as the soul leaves her mortal body, she is reborn in my will. And if she is not reborn in it, not only can she not enter the celestial fatherland, but she cannot even be saved, because no one enters the eternal glory if one is not a birth from my will. However, I must tell you of the great difference that exists between the one who is the newborn of the Supreme Will in time and those who are reborn at the thresholds of eternity. One example is my Queen Mamma, who was the newborn of the divine will in time. And because she was newly born, she had the power to make her Creator descend upon earth. And while he was still immense, she made him become little within her maternal womb, to clothe him with her own nature, and to offer him as the Savior of the human generations. By being newly born, she formed seas of graces, of light, of sanctity, of science, in which to contain he who had created her. By the power of the life of the Supreme Will that she possessed, she was able to do everything, and to impetrate everything. God himself could not deny what this celestial creature was asking for, because it was his own will that was asking, to which he could not and should not deny anything. So the one who is newly born in my will in time forms seas of grace while being in exile. And upon departing from the earth, she carries with herself all the seas of the goods that the divine will possesses, and therefore she carries with her God himself, to bring from the exile that will, that God who reigns in the heavens, is a portent. You yourself cannot comprehend clearly the great goods, the prodigies of the one who is newly born in my will in time. Therefore, of all that I tell you, you can do everything. More so, since my will itself shall do it, as though identified with your little being. On the other hand, for one who is reborn in my will upon departing from the earth, it is the divine will that makes her find its immense seas, to make the soul be reborn in it. She does not carry her God with herself. It is God that makes himself found by her. What a difference between the two! Therefore, greater grace I could not give you than making of you the newborn of my will. And if you love to grow, let my will alone grow. You have reached the end of the Book of Heaven, Volume 19, Part 2. Fiat.